And we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. And today I am doing a live stream because quick little story. My supposed ranking I was going to be doing was delayed several times, mostly due to my surgery thing that I had, so I couldn't get that done. And then when I wanted to get it done, it was just losing its relevance fast, so I decided to just get it over with. Plus, the editing would take at least a day with some of the things I was going to do. So I was just decided I'm going to get this over with now. So we are doing a live stream of all the movies I saw, the new releases that I saw in 2023 ranked, and I saw 49 films this year, all from this year. One, you can debate whether it came out last year, but anyway, I decided to include it because most people did so. And sadly, we do not have any viewers in here that I know of. So make sure if you have any questions, if this thing gets popular fast and you have a question you're dying to answer, I will probably not be able to answer all the questions if this thing actually gets popular. So if people start flooding in, then uh, so if this thing gets popular fast, then you may want to just send in super chats. If you really have a question you're dying to, that's just a suggestion. I don't even know if you can do a super chat with the way you think with this thing can. Okay, we have DJ Dix in the chat. Wait, shouldn't you be in at school? I decided to call a day off. I'm homeschooled, so I called the day off because my birthday was on a weekend, so I had a free day off, and I just decided to use it today. If you're in here, be sure to hit that like button. It helps out a lot. So if you are able to send a super chat, and there's a lot of questions coming around, then very well make sure to send one in. It helps support the channel. If you want just a suggestion, because I do not know if you're even able to do that with what I have up, but if you want to, go ahead. But we are now starting for the worst. The worst film I saw in 2023, the bottom of the barrel, the worst of the worst. And it should be no surprise to anyone because this is like 99.9% of everyone's least favorite film of that year. And that is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Wow. Oh, wow. If you do not know me in real life, just know this. I loved Winnie the Pooh. I think he's an adorable thing, and he is easily one of, if not my favorite child property type thing of all time. He is such a great thing, and I idolize him with some of the things that he is. And getting this bastardization of the character. Oh man, I immediately, as soon as I heard this, I saw exactly what this was, and that it was immediately some cash grab with no heart. That they were just trying to milk it for money because they knew people would be curious, which is exactly what happened. And we just got the trailer for the second film, so we already know it did succeed because it made like 50 times its budget back. So uh, I do not like this film. It's like I think it's my second least favorite film of all time. I hate it that dang much. I think that let's just say the costume designs are terrible, unbelievably bad. Like some of the worst costume designs ever. They look abysmal. Some of them are laughable at points. Like Piglet in particular, he has like tusks coming of his out of his face. It's so dumb. There's no surprise why people hate this film, and I am one of them. This is the worst film I saw this year, easily. We got Godzilla in the chat. Let's take a look. Did you ever see the Christopher Robin 2018 movie? I did. I really enjoyed that one. Some people weren't the biggest fan of it. I actually really did enjoy it. I think it's a bit of a sad one, but it's still a really good one. It's a trillion zillion times better than Blood and Honey. I'll just say that. But I would say that the Ewan McGregor is a far superior person to play Christopher Robin than I'm looking up his name. Nick I think it's Nikolai Leon. I'm probably gonna be pronouncing that wrong, but yeesh. Let's just say that I hate Blood and Honey with a burning passion. It is easily the worst I saw. Actually, not easily. There's one other that's competing for the bottom that I'm going to get to in a second. Godzilla. It's a movie. Yes, I have seen it. Make sure, guys, if you're in here, to hit that like button. And if you can, then send in a super chat if you want. Okay, 48. A film that is not much better at all. This is my third least favorite film of all time. That is how garbage some of the films were this year. I could not stand this film. It is that dang bad. It competed with Blood and Honey, but Blood and Honey is just more offensive to me. And that is The Black Demon. It's films like this that give the shark subgenre such a bad rap. Because yikes, this film stinks. On purely acting level, it is up there with Blood and Honey. It might be worse. Like some of the acting in particular from I'm trying to think. I'm gonna read the actress's name. Ferranda Urizola or something. Whatever her name is. She plays in No. She plays in this as the mother. Her acting is atrocious, especially when she's like trying to be dramatic, like she's really like just either scared or like emotional. Her acting is laughable at some points. There's like one scene in particular I wanted to just punch her. Her acting is terrible. Some of the worst acting I've ever seen. Some of the worst shark CGI I've seen ever. Like the scene where the shark comes out of the water is unbelievably bad. It looks terrible. The gore is not very good in here. It's low budget, but it still does not mean then it's still terrible. I don't care if it's low budget. I still hate this film. So I could not stand it. The only reason it is not in last place is because Blood and Honey is just more offensive to me. And for a while, this was in last place. Even when I saw Blood and Honey, for a while I would say Blood and Honey was better, but still, they're both. I would now put Blood and Honey below it. It is so bad. Quick little water break. Okay. 47. Hypnotic. Now this is a film that I was very intrigued for. It's like some sort of like sci-fi film starring Ben Affleck, and I'm a pretty big fan of him. I've seen a few things, so I was really intrigued to check this out. And this was one of the most disappointing films of this year. 65 was my most disappointing, but I will say I did not expect 65 to be as bad as it was. I had expectations that this film was not going to be very good, and it was just downright terrible. So it was. So we'll just say that it delivered on its expectations of being bad. So. Oof. So I immediately knew this one was going to be probably bad, but I had a feeling that there might be some stuff I liked, and I did not. So, it is at 47, and it is a shockingly terrible film. I hated it much more than I was expecting. It should not have been as bad as it was. It should not have had no reason to be. So I hated this film, and it is out here number 47. Okay, at number 46 is Five Nights at Freddy's. If you are a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, I am sorry. I have no idea what you guys see in this film. If it's accurate to the games, cool. But on a purely objective level, this film is terrible. It is unbearably bad. Like the acting is not very good. It has the person that plays PETA in the Hunger Games films, and he's not very good in the film. I wish he was better. He's by far the best part. Actually, no. We get Stu from Scream in a little role in here, and he's by far the best part. So I enjoy him at certain. I enjoy him whenever he's on screen, which is maybe 5 minutes at best. So I hated this film. If you think it's accurate, then that's cool. It at least did its job. But if you're going to tell me that this is a good film, you are lying. This is not a good film at all. This is a terrible, terrible film it feels lifeless. Its cinematography is bland. It is oh, whew. Let's just say we got some good films in 2023, but we got some really bad ones. Okay. Number 45 is No One Will Save You. Now, this is a thriller from the director Brian Duffield, and yikes. I, again, hated this film. It's a film where there's like maybe there's like maybe a few lines in this thing, but it's almost completely silent. So it bored me to living tears with this film. I was so bored. I could not believe how boring this film was. Like the opening little bit is intriguing and is actually a pretty nice little thriller. If that was a short film, that would be awesome. Yet they go on and like the middle section and even to some extent the last act is to some extent unwatchable. It is so bad. So there's like an entire stretch in the middle where it is so hard to get through. Like ugh. So I'm just gonna say I'm not a fan. So I would say that I gave it enough. I think the opening is that's the only reason I put it above. That's the only reason I have it above the ones I just talked about. The opening alone was cool, so that is the only reason. But other than that, they're all like 1.5 to 1/2 star films. So now 44, and it pains me to my core that I have a film this low, and that is Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. And I am sick and tired of Zack Snyder having to have a very bad forced cut for a film that is nowhere near as good, and then later we get his director's cut that is supposedly awesome. We need to stop getting this. Can we please just let Zack Snyder execute his vision? I felt that this was extremely watered down. It's extremely boring. It's way too long. I'm going to say this. I am sick and tired of these films getting so long. This is like over 2 hours long. We need some more short films like things like Indiana Jones being 2.5 hours long. That was not needed at all. They could have easily trimmed that down. But films are just getting way too long nowadays. They are bloating their runtime. If we get the announcement that Blood and Honey 2 is over 2 hours long, I'm gonna die. I cannot have that. But I felt that this thing had some more cool, intriguing things than No One Will Save You and Downward, so that is the only reason it is above those. I gave it this one is I give this a 2 stars, which I gave it like 3.5 at one point, which it just keeps going slowly down when I think about it more. Another quick little water break. Godzilla. I watched the trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's and it didn't interest me in the slightest. I didn't watch the trailer for the same reason because it didn't interest me that we were getting a Five Nights at Freddy's thing. So I didn't even watch the trailer. I just like popped it on, especially since I also don't watch them because nowadays, like especially horror trailers, they just give away the whole film and they'll spoil everything, all the twists and turns. So I usually stay away from trailers like that nowadays so that they don't spoil anything. So I didn't watch the trailer, but I would not be surprised if that trailer is better than the film because Five Nights at Freddy's was awful. Ugh, yeesh. So, okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. Number 43 is Strays. If you and there's one trophy that I could say that this film wins. It is like the trophy for the most juvenile, painfully unfunny humor you can find. Because if so, it very much won that. They say the F word in this time enough times to choke a horse if they put it on paper. Yikes. They are and the entire premise of this film is a dog going to bite his owner's penis off. It is such a juvenile concept. And I would say that they just don't do anything with it. It's just dogs swearing and doing some gross out nasty stuff for how long is it? Uh, Not like 90 minutes. So another that's one of the reasons why it's above. The rest is shorter than just about all of them, if not all of them. No One Will Save You might be actually no One Will Save You and Strays are the same length, but Strays I would still say is better because it's less boring. And it has Will Ferrell, which Will Ferrell, anytime he's in a film, he at least gets a bump over some of these like borderline unwatchable films, which No One Will Save You and Down are all films that are borderline unwatchable. So we'll just say that. So I really did not like this film. So um, I'll just say not a fan. But there could be some people that'll find entertainment out of it. I am just somebody that hates this like just juvenile, painfully unfunny humor. I am begging people to just give us something funny. But but I just wish that this film could have been better because it was not. It was awful. Godzilla. I hate movie trailers and I try to avoid them like the plague as much as possible. That is actually a pretty good idea. There's some that are good, like that don't give away the entire film. Like John Wick Chapter 4 is a good example where they gave us just enough to where they didn't spoil the entire thing. They gave us some good action scenes in the trailer that looked very intriguing, like this could be a really good film, and they kept it at that. They didn't go so far like some other trailers have been going. Number 42, and again, one of the worst in this franchise is Elemental, one of the worst Pixar films. Again, I was not a fan. Another thing that I hated with this one is that it's nearly 2 hours long. And again, like I said, this thing could have been trimmed down a lot. And I just find that it's not really one that it just appeals to me. It is extremely boring. It's too long. It's dull. I find that the humor in here, when they do some humor, is very unfunny. There's maybe I don't even think there was a single joke I even smiled at, and they really overplayed the part about the water thing. The water guy crying so much, that thing is so overdone. So not a fan of that part, and it's more heartfelt than the ones below it, which is why it gets a bump. But again, still not a fan. I did not like this film. It is one of my least favorite Pixar films. It's easily in the bottom. It might be in the bottom five, to be honest. I really do not like it. And yes, I do like Cars 2 more than it. I will stand by that. Deal with it. Number 41 is Expendables. And again, breaks my heart that a film like this that has Sylvester Stallone in it is number 41 out of 49 of all the films I saw this year. That breaks my heart. So again, it's one that's it's not as long as some of these others, but it was still not a good film. Like this has by far the worst cast of it has by far the worst cast of the Expendables. With they have like 50 Cent in this one. They now have Megan Fox in here. Like Megan Fox, I am never a fan of her whatever she does. I can't stand her. She is so annoying. She and like this one she's like acting like she's like one of these like really cool people, and I just say well, let's just say that let's just say that I'm not a fan of her. So I'm just not a fan of her when she's in these films. So I did not like her in this. And since she is one of the main characters, she immediately brought this film down heavily. I really didn't like her. I felt like they really did not focus on Stallone enough because Stallone's like in the film for like maybe like 5 minutes maybe, and that's stretching it. They do like a fake out to kill him off, which they fall on their face hard with that one. Like I immediately knew that they were going to bring him back. I knew that they did not have the guts to actually kill off Barney. So this film is predictable. It is dumb and it has some terrible writing. The CGI is unbelievably bad. The CGI is terrible. This is easily the worst Expendables film, and very, very few people will disagree with me on that statement. It has some of the worst CGI I've seen. There's blatantly obvious green screen, so not a fan. Which I'm gonna be saying not a fan a few more times before we can actually get to like that. It's fine. Another quick little water break. I'm gonna be taking a lot of water breaks. By the way, guys, be sure to let me know what your guys' picks are for the most disappointing films of 2023, your favorite films of 2023, and your least favorite films of 2023. I would love to know your opinions on it. Okay, number 40, 65. The biggest disappointment I had in 2023. Competes. It's between this and The Mandalorian season 3. Both were unbearably disappointing, and both were severely underwhelming in terms of how they should have been. These like season 3 of The Mandalorian in particular should have been much better than it was. It was extremely boring, and this follows the same line. Like, it's about Adam Driver fighting dinosaurs for like 5 minutes. But actually, I mean, for like 15 minutes maybe. The dinosaurs are barely in it. I hated that part of it. It's such a waste of just talent like Adam Driver. And since since the main girl of the film can't speak English, there's like a language barrier between them, so it really that was this is like easily the one that I was like, oh, this was not a good film. Man, 2023, yikes. But there's also like some woman that we see that gets rescued by Adam Driver that they leave on the ship, and then they just immediately leave. Their writing in the film was so terrible that they actually managed to forget that they had a character in there, which is pretty pathetic. So, not a fan of what they did in there. Like, the writing was awful that they managed to slip, that they left a woman unconscious on a planet of dinosaurs there. And the dinosaurs also look pretty bad. There's some you can tell that they are not real at all. They are very CGI. So they look pretty bad. So I am not a fan of 65. Godzilla. Expendables title can go with embarrassments like Fantastic and Take 3. I need to see Taken 3 after I see 1 and 2, but I have seen Fantastic, and I would still say Fantastic is worse than Expendables. At least Expendables 4 has Statham and Stallone. Meanwhile, the cast for that Fantastic Four remake is unbearably bad. Like that casting is so bad. Except for Michael B. Jordan, he's good in it, but that's just because Michael B. Jordan's like nearly always good when he plays a role. Number 39 is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I love the MCU. Easily one of my favorite franchises of all time. And the fact that I have over the last like 2 years been just ranting on how bad the state of the MCU has become is extremely disappointing. The writing has sloppily gone lazier and lazier. They have slowly lost their magic. They don't have any more magic left. Guardians 3 was like the last good one. Then we're just getting some of the worst writing I've seen in the MCU for a long time. Like, the characters are now turning into caricatures. A lot of them are there's being a lot of drama now, especially with like Jonathan Majors. I still do not know if that's been if that has been stalled yet, but I found this film extremely generic. But I did think Bill Murray was charming whenever he was on screen. He's in it for a tiny bit, but I would say this is by far the worst Ant-Man film, easily. And again, very few people will disagree with me on that statement. This is it's one of the most generic films in the MCU, and is the lowest rated on. Actually, no, this and Eternals are the two lowest rated on Rotten Tomatoes. They both have a 47%, so pretty embarrassing. I'm just gonna say that. But anyway, I'll say it one more time. Not a fan. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay. And editing something, and I'm editing a part of my list, and there. Yeah. Number 38 is Barbie. Another film I was not a very big fan of at all. And I know a lot of people love this film. On Letterboxd, the highest rated is the average is 5 stars, which baffles me completely. This film does not deserve 5 stars at all. I find it extremely preachy. Like there's like a certain scene where they're literally monologuing at the audience. There's one really funny joke uh where they Barbie is saying that how she's not pretty, and then the narrator just like comes to and just says, note to the filmmakers, Margot Robbie is the wrong person to cast if you're wanting to get this point across. That is hilarious because that is very true. Margot Robbie, if you're wanting to paint the image of Barbie being ugly, you completely screwed up in your casting, big time. So I think that I'm not a very big fan of the humor. It falls on its face much more than it actually succeeds. Ryan Gosling carries this film above everything else. He is one of the reasons. If Ryan Gosling was not in this film, it could be bottom. It could be bottom. I mean, it could be lower, not bottom 5, because those were. Margot Robbie, I would say that she's, even if Ryan Gosling wasn't in it, Margot Robbie would carry it above the rest. But seriously, just not a good film. But I mean, I don't really know how I need to justify this, because with someone that actually likes horror and action rated R films need to explain why he would not like a Barbie film. Yeah, I don't think so. Okay. Maverick Gaming's Fortnite's better. Okay. Okay, hold on. Godzilla, who did you want to star as Barbie? I did not know, because I didn't even know that this film was coming out until I did not know this film was coming out until the trailer dropped. So, and then I immediately saw Margot Robbie was playing Barbie, and I was like, hey, that's actually a pretty dang good casting choice, because if you're gonna cast someone as as Barbie, then Margot Robbie is probably your best option. She's someone that's very positive and very upbeat. So she was definitely one of the best casting choices for the film. You're gonna be Sorry about the disturbance. Okay. Okay, so I would just say that I know if you like this film because it just appeals to you more than to me, I can get that. A lot of people do really like this film. It's just this film gets very preachy, especially in the last act. So I'm just not the biggest fan of it at all. Now, guys, Barbie was the last film on this list that I would give a negative review to. The rest I would give a positive review to. Even if it is a mixed positive, we are now in the mixed positive zone, and I will tell you when that changes. So number 37 is Dashing Through the Snow. This is a Disney Plus. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it's a Disney Plus original Christmas film that is extremely generic, but it has more of an appeal to it. You have I'm gonna take a look. What is his name? Lil Rel Howery playing Santa Claus, and he's like one of those guys that's extremely funny and has like this very electric energy. So I felt like he brought a certain charm to it, so I really enjoyed him about it. And you have Ludacris is his name, really? The guy that's in several of the Fast and Furious films. He's the friend of Roman in the Fast and Furious franchise. We'll just say that. He's in here, and he's the main character about him just not liking Christmas. I think it was because I think it's one that's very forgettable. So if you're wondering why can you not remember anything about this film, and I'm like, it's not my fault. It's so uninteresting. How am I supposed to know this stuff? But it's just one that I don't really remember too much about, so I can't even remember the plot much. Godzilla, I never saw Barbie. You're not missing much. I mean, there's a Stallone cameo, technically with some Rocky posters, so I that part is good, but other than that, it's not the best. Hold on. I like snow more than butter. Okay. Okay, I'm going. Okay, one more quick little edit on my thing because I'm realizing I really should not have the thing. Okay. Again, you guys are getting to see me do something, fix a mistake I made on my list live. Cool. Hopefully, there won't be too many of these. I'll just answer this one now. Godzilla. The whole Barbenheimer thing still kind of baffles me. Not really for me, because if you take a look, Barbie has one of the most cultural phenomenon followings of all time. It's generations of women have loved Barbie, and so that alone, I already knew that film was going to make $1 billion. I predicted it way before it happened. I immediately knew. I said, yeah, that film's going to make $1 billion. It's probably going to be the highest grossing film of the year, and I believe it is. It's that and Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario Bros is like the only one that gives a competition. So I was not surprised at all, and I was like, I called it, guys. I immediately knew it. It was going to make money. And if you take a look at Christopher Nolan's track history, Dunkirk is the highest grossing war film, I think, of all time. It made hundreds of millions. Batman Begins made I think it made like 400 to 500 million. It made a lot. The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises both made over $1 billion. And several more of his films just make tons of money. So Oppenheimer was bound to make money. And I don't think the budget was as big as some of the ones like Indiana Jones, which had a budget of 300 million. So there was no reason why. There was no surprise that it immediately bombed hard. So I would say I do think it's not that surprising. So I'm not very surprised at all that it made money. At all. Okay. Wait, which one am I on? Okay, yeah. Number 36 is one that objectively is better than most of the films here, and that is The Killer. Now, I am a fan of David Fincher. I love Seven. Easily one of the greatest films of all time. Objectively, it is a fantastic film. It's just not one I rewatch all that much. And the only other one I have seen other than Seven is Alien 3, which is the movie I can't stand the most with what they do at the beginning of it. So I immediately was intrigued about if I was going to like this or not, and I actually did at first, but it just is one that's extremely boring. It's a slow burn, and Michael Fassbender carries this film hard, and I think that he's really good in it. This and actually no, yeah, never mind. But I think that it's one that's very well written, not well written. Sorry, very well acted because Michael Fassbender is a great actor, and he is like one of the only guys in the film, because there's not very many people in the film because it's mostly about him. There's some like characters, but they usually only have like one line. So I found it a really decent film. I used to not like it very much. I just moved it up to 3 stars, so it barely gets the pass mark, but I did enjoy it. Well, let's just put this one up real quick. And by the way, thank you everyone if you're in here. Godzilla, I just think it's weird since Barbie and Oppenheimer are very different films. Yeah, but since they came out on the same time, and since they're both most likely to make a lot of money, they were very since they are such very different films they kind of make as like a weird pairing with each other. It's like a double feature where you're going from this super lighthearted one about like some really uh silly humor to this one about the atomic bomb and people dying with some extremely inappropriate scenes that slipped through. Whew. Yeah, so that one was pretty. So yeah, Oppenheimer of them both really, they both really got some stuff in there that I really hate Hollywood nowadays for what they're doing with some films that was not necessary at all what they did. If you've seen the film, you know what I mean when I'm saying what they did in the film in regards to what they do with Oppenheimer was not necessary at all. I'm just saying that. Number 35, objectively, this is bottom tier, but I would rewatch it before I would rewatch any of the other films here that I mentioned, and that is Meg 2: The Trench. And the other Jason Statham film I saw, I mean, I don't think there's any more. I'll probably remember if there's any others later, but I think that this one is one where it really dropped the ball in certain regards. Like, Statham is fighting sharks for about, like, again, like with 65 for like 15 minutes. It's like all in the third act. Like all the shark mayhem that you see in the trailer, that's all takes place in the third act, which is extremely bad when all the action that everyone went to this film for is in the third act. This film did not do very well here at all. I think it made more money in the Chinese section of the world because of the fact that one of our stars is Chinese, so it did not do too well here. But we got a lot of films here from Blockbuster. We got a lot of blockbusters this year that did terribly at the box office, which makes no sense why some of them bombed. So anyway, number 35, Meg 2: The Trench. Okay, number 34, The Family Plan. Now this is one that I would say this is like 3.5 now, 3.5 out of 5 and higher. So I would say that this is one it's fine. It's one that's designed. It's like an Apple TV Plus original. So it's one that is meant to. I mean, it's meant to be that type of thing that. How do I say this? It's meant to be one that you're like intrigued enough to not click away when you. It's meant to be one that you can watch and you don't click away when you're watching it. It's like you're mildly intrigued enough to stay on it. So you're not really meant to stay. It's not really meant to be like the most intriguing thing ever. It's basically a PG-13 version of True Lies, where Mark Wahlberg essentially is playing this very uninteresting guy, and immediately we find out later that he's this like awesome spy that's like having to hide the fact that he is a spy from his family, and he's like on this like road trip with them, and he's like keeps getting into fights with them, and he has to like find ways to keep it away from his family. So like there's this like really funny one with him and this driving, when he's like driving and chasing, like he has all of his family asleep and he has like headphones on him, and there's some really funny jokes in here, but I think it's very generic at certain points, and it's just a watered down version of True Lies, and True Lies being a far superior film to this, because I mean, I like Mark Wahlberg if he's good in it, but then you get Transformers: Age of Extinction: The Last Night, which dropped the ball completely with his character. I hate him in that. So number 34 is The Family Plan, but also Arnold's a lot more charismatic than Mark Wahlberg. So I'm basically just reminded how I think Arnold would be better in this role, because he was better in this role, because this is essentially just PG-13 True Lies. 33 is Fast X, and another one that was surprising because the Fast and Furious franchise has been a box office behemoth. And the fact that they have managed to uphold such a legacy, like the only one that did not do too well was Tokyo Drift, and that one still made over 100 million. but it still did not make much compared to some of the others. But both Furious 7 and The Fate of the Furious made over $1 billion. So I believe this one did bomb. So this is odd that so many of these were bombing. Like, there was actually some funny things around where they were being called flopbusters because essentially they were, because they just kept flopping. And I enjoyed this one. Uh, it's just not one that is nearly as good as some of the others on this list. I had fun with it, but there's some things like that are emotional, like that scene with Dom talking about cop and a street racer. I immediately, and seeing him tear up with that, I immediately got emotional with that, because like that just shows that is like that was a blatant callback to Paul Walker that immediately worked. That had a lot of heart to it. I love that scene. So I really enjoy that part about it. So I had fun with Fast X. At this point, logic's out the window. We're just turn our brain offs. And how can I talk about Fast X without mentioning Jason Momoa, who is so fun in this thing? Like, he was just immediate. I would not be surprised if they were just like, they hopped him up on Red Bull and say, go for it. Just go for it. Because this guy is awesome in this. He is hilarious. Okay, I'm going to answer this question. Godzilla, what do you think of the first Meg film? I enjoy it for what it is. It's dumb and it's schlocky, but I have fun with it. They should have gone R-rated with it. There is no reason it should have been PG-13. But I think Statham is still really fun in it, and I have seen it like 2 or 3 times probably. So I enjoy the film, but objectively, it's not a very good film. But I have fun with it for what it is. But I would say it is better than the first. I would say the first is better than the second film. Although in the second film, we do get the Mexican cartel guy from Rambo Last Blood, who is awesome because, man, I love Last Blood. Okay. Whew. And number 32, another one that after coming out, even though this was one of the better ones in this franchise, actually did bomb, and that is Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Another one that is actually, it's not that bad. It's one that's actually one of the better ones in the franchise. But I felt like this one, it just feels a lot more watered down for the Transformers franchise, because if you take a look at the Michael Bay ones, they have the spectacle. It's down. Like, say what you want about Michael Bay and his flaws, which he has a lot of, but the spectacle and the size, it's awesome. Like in Dark of the Moon, when you take a look and you see that building falling, it looks like there's an actual building falling with Shia LaBeouf in it, and there's not much in here. The Transformers look like toys in this one. They're nowhere near as cool as they are in the Bayverse films. As much as I enjoy Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast, I will say that those are by far a worse version of the Transformers. But the writing is much better in here than it is in most of the Bay films, if not probably all of them. And there's some stuff in here that's like been there, done that, seen that, heard that, all of that. But I had fun with it, and it is definitely one of the better ones in that franchise. But just saying, that franchise is a terrible franchise as a whole, where they have some bad films. Hopefully, the new one coming out, I think it's this year, will be better. Okay, quick little water break. Number 31 is a film that it might be better. Objectively, Transformers: Rise of the Beast is probably better. I might rewatch Rise of the Beast before, but I'm number 31 is Shazam: Fury of the Gods. This one is one that's extremely generic. If there's one word that you could use to describe most of 2023, and that is generic. And the sad part is I still have a lot more things to say. I still am going to be able to call a lot more films generic in this list, but that actually breaks my heart that I have to say that. But Shazam: Fury of the Gods, it is nowhere near as funny as the first film was, but I have fun with it. But it's not the best. It has its moments. It has its moments to shine, but as a whole, it felt like it was a much more clunky version of what it was going for. The film bombed harder than anyone could have thought. No one would think that it would bomb as hard as it did. And I would I there's some of that's understandable because people are just now getting tired of these like just so half like just like these half tried versions of this and of these films and seeing them just be this generic. It's a lot harder to. Sorry if I'm stuttering a bit, guys, but anyway, it's just a lot more generic than I was hoping, and I had fun with it. I watched the first bit on a plane, then I just watched it a long time later. So I have fun with it, but I am not surprised it bombed at all because it had too big of a budget. People really need to start going for a much lower budget because I'm trying to think. One of the reasons Blood and Honey did so well is because their budget was so minimal. So, wow. Okay. Godzilla, what do you think of G.I. Joe teaming up with the Transformers? I'm just wondering since Rise of the Beast teased it. And that tease went completely over my head because I did not know that. Oh wait, no, you did tell me that, but when I watched the film, I did not know that at all. Haven't seen a single GI Joe film. I know Bruce Willis and The Rock are in one of them, and I would like to see them in the same room together. So I may need to check that out. But I do not know. I would need to rewatch the scene where it's teased, but they don't really seem like a good pairing all that much. I don't really know. I mean, I don't even know if they have anything in common because is G.I. Joe even about robots? Because other than that, I have no idea what I am. I have no really thoughts on that at all. But good question. Thank you so much for asking. And thank you for being here. Okay. Number 30 is I'm looking at the films real quick just to check. Probably the most gorgeous in terms of just spectacle and cinematography wise. This is the best film on this list, and that is The Creator. So The Creator was a really decent film, and the only other film that I have seen this actor in is Tenet, which I just got done watching about a few weeks ago. So like 2 or 3 probably. And I would definitely say I hard prefer this to Tenet because Tenet is probably my least favorite Christopher Nolan film. I need to see Inception, Dunkirk, and Interstellar, but so far it's my least favorite. But I felt like the first act, and to some extent, even I mean, the second act is very boring, and that's really what drags it down. The second act, but the first act is really decent, and the third act actually has a lot more appeal than some people are giving it credit for. And I thought that the little twist at the end that we get is actually pretty heartfelt, and I did really enjoy that part about it. So I do think that there's a lot of people that are dunking on this film that I think really need to watch it through a different lens. But I did actually really enjoy the film. So if you're somebody that didn't like some of the directions they went, I can understand it. But I would say it has a lot more appeal than some of the other ones on here. But doesn't mean it was the best film because the second act does really drag. But it's another one that's like really long. So it's like 2 hours and like 20 minutes. So it should not be this long. It's one of those films where I am sick and tired of saying this. Films are getting too dang long. Well, with that out of the way, now at number 29, and well, hold on. Okay, quick little water break. Godzilla minus one was a success because of its low budget. Quick little question: where did you watch Godzilla minus one? Godzilla, because I need to know that. Please answer that question fast. I need to know that because I've been wanting to watch it because it could be, and most likely will get high in my list. I am next to positive. But anyway, number 29, I am about to be accused of supporting child grooming, and that is The Sound of Freedom, because yikes, the controversy with this film is real. I know a lot of people say this is like top 3 of the year. uh, I'll just say this. Something that always plays a key role in how I watch a film is its rewatch value. I'm somebody that loves movies and I like to watch new movies all the time, but I also like to rewatch a lot of films, and rewatchability must be very genuine with certain films if I want to go back to them, which is why it's so low. Objectively this is much higher on the list. Much higher. Like easily like possibly top 5. Maybe not. Yeah, it's probably top 5. So, uh it's just I would not rewatch this film over I don't think any of them anymore. I don't think any of the ones up here I would probably rewatch all of these films before Sound of Freedom because I am not someone who likes child trafficking. I think it's a horrid thing. And Rambo Last Blood touches on it, but these are like nearly they're probably like of age women, so it's a lot hard it's still hard to watch. But when you see it done to like 8-year-olds, and especially the way they portray it, especially in like the first act, it's like basically unwatchable. I could not watch it. And I'm not unwatchable in a bad way. I just mean that I could not watch it. Some of the stuff was horrid to look like. And it was a box office success. The fact that this thing made more money than Mission Impossible is shocking, if I may say. But I know a lot of people love this film, and I'm about to be public enemy number 1 for having a 29 on my list. So I will recognize this is easily one of the best films on this list. It's just not one of my favorites. Now, number 28. Well, let me just send my thank you for this. Godzilla. I watched it at Megaplex. Is that a theater? Because if so, I'm about to scream. Because dang it, Godzilla. I don't think it's in. It is in the theater anymore. Yeah, that's what I thought. But anyway, it's one that has subtitles, so it's a lot harder to watch because if you like turn away for a second, you can miss something. But number 28 is really the public enemy number 1 for movies, and that is The Flash. A lot of people hated this film. Like, well, I mean, when people were first like watching this film, people were saying that this is like the best DC film since The Dark Knight. Like, this is like easily one of the greatest movie, like just superhero movies of all time. People were saying that this film was like the best of the best, and it was fantastic. And it seems like right now those people are being a lot quieter now, and I think we know why. But I had fun with this film, but I will say the CGI people, if you love this film, you need to address the CGI because the CGI is a blatant problem. The CGI is terrible, especially in like the baby scene where we have all those babies. Like one of them is like one of the most ugly looking things I have ever seen, and it's because they use the CGI and that some of the stuff, especially in the third act. The third act is really what puts it down here because some of the themes in here are so much higher, and some of the themes I adore, but just the third act just falls apart completely, and it's just like bad idea after another one, and like everything is crumbling around it, and I hated that part about it, and it just went nowhere. So it just goes off the rails in the third act, which is why I gave it like 3.5, I think. I mean, did I? It's like 3.5 or 4. Yeah, I gave it 3.5. So yeah, I stand by that. I liked it, but it doesn't mean it was the greatest of all. It wasn't the greatest film of the year, but it was still a decent one. Now, okay, now at number 27, we have Gran Turismo, and another one that is a really decent one, and it's another one that's objectively much higher than it should be. I mean, objectively, it's too low on this list, but again, some of these ones are just a bit more rewatchable. So I have a lot of fun with this one too. So it there's some stuff here that I do not like at all, like some parts of the scene. Why am I stuttering so much? Okay, like I was saying. Some of the stuff here is a lot higher, and I was loving this film for a bit, but like the second act does start to drag a bit, not a bit, a lot. So that's one of the reasons it's a bit lower, but I did enjoy it. I had fun with it. It's like one of those like harmless ones about a gamer actually becoming a real life racer, and it's apparently a true story. So I did really enjoy this film, and I thought David Harbour is good. And this is coming off of me seeing him in Violent Night, and I would say Violent Night is far superior to this, but I do really enjoy this film. But that just goes to show Violent Night's awesome. Number 26 is The Hunger Games: The Ballad of the Songbirds and Snakes. This is my least favorite of the Hunger Games films. Of the ones I've seen the first one, this one, and most of the Catching Fire. So, and I would say Catching Fire is my favorite of them. But I would say this one is one where, when I say the statement films are too long, it applies probably the most to this film. One of the most. Like, this film I watched on New Year's Eve, and it was so boring in the second half. Like, the first half is like Hunger Games stuff, and then it just goes on this other different trail with like Snow turning evil. And if you're gonna tell me that part is not boring, you are lying. That part is so uninteresting, and some of the stuff that is interesting just gets bogged down, and it was so boring. I nearly hated the third. I mean, not the third. The second half of it, I nearly hated. I hated that part about it. At number 25, a harmless little one, is Merry Little Batman. And I'm a big fan of Batman, so I'm a big fan of Batman. So this one is another one that's much higher than some. I watched this Christmas Eve right before I was going to go to bed. So that's another thing that gives it a bit more of an etch over some of the other ones. And I felt like it probably would have worked better as just like this like short film thing, but it's like over an hour long. It's an hour and a half. So, and some of the things here were meh. Some did not work. The animation style is not very good. But again, I had fun with it. It's like one that's like, yeah, it's good. But objectively, it should be much lower on this list. Much. I know a lot of people are screaming at me saying, "You put a cartoon like that over Sound of Freedom?" Yeah, I did. Get used to it. Okay. Hold on. Yeah. Godzilla. Megaplex is a movie theater. Dang it. So isn't a streaming service where I could find it, because I need to find it. Somehow Apple TV does not have Godzilla -1, which is stupid. Godzilla. Worse than Mockingjay Part 2 is probably better than Mockingjay Part 2. I just haven't seen Mockingjay Part 2 or Part 1 or finished Catching Fire. Although it is pretty pathetic that I haven't finished Catching Fire, and I would already say it is better than the original and the prequel, which I've seen the full thing of both. Pretty pathetic. Even if the original film was much better than this one. And since my brother's a big Hunger Games fanatic, it's like his second favorite franchise behind Harry Potter. It is very overrated. Very. Okay, Godzilla, I see. Yes. Make sure to share your guys' picks for the best, the worst, and the most disappointing films of the year, and maybe some of your most surprising ones. And be sure to hit that like button. And if you guys want, make sure to send in a super chat if you can to help support this channel. And if not, completely fine. Now, 24 is Chicken Run: Dawn of the Nugget. Now, this is a Netflix original animated film that is a sequel to a cartoon thing made in the 2000s called Chicken Run, about these chickens that are going to be cooked they're going to be like roasted and cooked for like Thanksgiving. I mean, I think it's Thanksgiving, or just going to be like roasted and cooked in general, and they want to escape. So this one is basically the same thing, only this time they're trying to rescue some people. And one of the things I wasn't a big fan of is that they do recast them, of course, because back in the 2000s, the people that, I don't know the person that plays the girl chicken in the first one, but she does not return. And Mel Gibson plays the main chicken in the first one. So I was like, wow, Mel Gibson is in this. And then I took a look at the cast of Dawn of the Nugget and I was like, oh, dang it, he's not going to be in this film. So I immediately was not the biggest fan of that part because I love Mel Gibson. He's awesome. He's like, I mean, Riggs is in an animated film. I need to see Riggs. And if you guys have not seen Lethal Weapon, you will not know what that is. But anyway, I had fun with this one. It's like it's a lot more silly than some of these other ones, and again, objectively not. It is much lower on this list. But I would rewatch it before, again, something like Sound of Freedom, where I respect Sound of Freedom tremendously for what it's commenting on, but I do not at all enjoy watching what is happening on screen. Yikes. Number 23 is Blue Beetle. Another one that was extremely predictable and generic. There are several plot points that happened that I immediately predicted. That was pretty pathetic that I can predict some of the stuff that happened, and I was like, yep, called it. So it has some fun moments, and we actually get what's her face in this. We get Ilipidia Carlo, who plays in Predator and Predator 2, even though I don't think I saw her in Predator 2, but she's in the original Predator for sure. She plays the main chick that is on the island with Arnold and the rest of the team. So that's actually really, really fascinating that she is in this film, and she is Blue Beetle's mother. So there's several plot points that are blatantly obvious are going to happen. But again, I did have some enjoyment with this one, so I would rewatch this film. I'm just going to say it again. The rest of these films on here, I would rewatch before Sound of Freedom. We'll just say that. Again, rewatch value plays a key role. Rewatch value is a shockingly powerful thing. So that is just what I'm going to keep saying. Okay. Let me pull this up. Yeah, that's good. Actually, no, hold on. I will get to that question in a second. Why do I keep having to fix this list? Oh man, this list is gonna. Oh man, wow! There's a certain film that was at like number 13 right now that just keeps getting lower. That I keep having to put lower. Yeah, okay. There. Okay. Now, Godzilla. What is the worst DCEU movie? Justice League. I had not gotten all of them done. I need to see Suicide 2016. I know a lot of people are screaming, no, you do not, man. You do not need to see that film. And that just goes to show how bad that film was, apparently. But Justice League is my least favorite of the ones I've seen. And it is, if you know the backstory behind it, then nobody will say that film was good. It is such a bad film if you know the backstory on it with what they do to Zack Snyder. It is a terrible film. But even if we're judging it not with that stuff, it is still not a good film. The CGI is pretty terrible in that one as well. CGI can get really bad, guys. It can be good at certain points, but it can be really bad. Number 22, one that I was surprised made it this high, and that is Haunted Mansion. And one that on paper I would never have guessed would make it this high. I would not have guessed that in a million years. So I immediately was like, Danny DeVito's in this. That was like one of the only reasons I got it played. But I was like, he's a side. I found out he was a side character. I thought he was like one of the main characters because he seemed to be in a lot of the marketing because he was like probably the most famous actor in the entire selection of actors. He was like the most famous of them, so they immediately were like marketing it off of him, even though he's like barely in the film. He's in it for he has a bit of screen time. Owen Wilson's charming in it, and the some of the actors are charming, and it's like one that could be a gateway drug for horror for kids, but it's like one that does not give enough horror for you to actually experience what horror is actually like. So I would recommend that you check this out, but if you're like someone like that says would kids be able to watch this film, I would say yeah, but if you're like expecting them to like get a taste of what horror looks like, then you chose the wrong film because there's not really anything that unless they have like a fear of ghosts that like are going duh like they're just like going a bit nuts at them. Other than that, they're not going to be scared. I'm almost positive of it. Number 21, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, one that I used to not be a fan of at all. I just like I watched it several times because my family really liked it. So I've seen the film. Like this is one of my most rewatched of 2023. Not by my own accord. I've rewatched it once by my own will, and then I even liked it less when I watched it that time. So it has some things, but again, just like Blue Beetle, I predicted the entire plot and several of the plot points way before it happened. I immediately knew that Bowser was going to try and marry Peaches. I immediately knew some of the stuff that was going to go down the third act. It's extremely predictable, and so, but the animation is stunning, and I do really enjoy some of the directions they take with it. And I would just say Chris Pratt, I like the guy, but he was a bit of a miscast for the role of Mario. He doesn't really bring anything too good. It's like one that a lot of other people could probably have played better, but Bowser, Jack Black is Bowser. He is awesome. He's like one that's like immediately been like memed like the with the Peaches thing, which everyone finds funny nowadays. But it was definitely a really good film. But it's just not what I'm as keen to rewatch as some of the others. Even though we're now in a section where we're gonna have a few horror films now. Which is speaking of which, at number 20 is Renfield. This is one that I was intrigued by for one reason: Nicolas Cage as Dracula. That's all I needed to sign up for this one. Anytime where we get Nick Cage being someone like Dracula, so he gets to like ham it up. That's like all you need to get me to watch this film, and it's like one that you're not supposed to take seriously. And a lot of the CGI is awful, like, but it's intentionally meant to be bad. Like the CGI I mean, most of the blood is CGI, so they intentionally make it extremely violent. But most of the blood and gore is CGI, so it's intentionally meant to be like this like B movie, and it's pretty funny if you take a look at some of the stuff that goes on screen with some of the blood. So I find it funny with some of the certain things. Let me take a look. I'm trying to see who's the main character. Uh, what is her name? Aquafina. Okay, her name's Aquafina. I'm just gonna say in this one, I'm not a very big fan of. I'm just gonna say whenever I see Aquafina in a movie, this is the actress she plays in Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings, as the person that's supposedly just his girlfriend or whatever, or friends. I did air quotes on that one, but I am not a very big fan of her at all. Whenever she does, she's either extremely annoying or just unlikable or both. So in this one, she's less of that, but I'm just not a big fan of her in general. So I wasn't a big fan of her in this. She just came off as annoying in certain parts, but it's one that's a bit more, yeah, it's a bit shorter. It's only 93 minutes. So it's like I'm a lot more grateful that with all these so long films that I had to go through, I am so happy that I have a much shorter one that I can watch that's a lot more silly, but it's a lot more rewatchable than some of the others. Number 19 is one that I actually saw in theaters. Have there any been the only ones that I've seen in theaters that I've talked about right now are Blue Beetle. Let me think. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Blue Beetle is the only one I've seen in theaters, the ones I've talked about. But now that has changed because now we are talking about The Boys in the Boat at number 19. And if you're someone that immediately watched this film or wasn't a big fan of it because there's something like you think that the rowing stuff is like over dramatic with some of the stuff they're going through, let me tell you, you're wrong. I do rowing. I am a rower, so I'm just gonna tell you this stuff is very accurate. But it's just one that again I have to complain about this because I hated the fact that it is so long. There's no justification for how long it is. It's like over 2 hours there. It's like over 2 hours. So, I mean, I get it's a good film, but someone that actually does like rowing, getting its own time in the spotlight, because I do like doing rowing, even if there are times when some people there can be jerks. But story for another time. But just saying. But I do find this film good, but it's just a lot longer, so the runtime is a bit more intimidating for me. Because why do I have to keep saying this? The films are so long. Can we get like one that is not like? Oh, I'll just say this. Like, the funny thing is, oh wow. The funny thing is, I keep complaining about how long movies are getting, and all the films in my top 5 are like 2.5 hours or longer, which is so ironic. The only problem is that a lot of the times they're long and they're not justified. These ones justify it usually. My number 3 maybe doesn't justify it, but I just love that film. And we have Hosta in the chat. Man, good to see you, man. And then we have him saying hello. Hello, man. Make sure to tell what your favorite films and least favorite films are of the year. And we are at number now 18, which is a film that is another one that's objectively much lower on this list. And again, one that bombed hard. And that is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And the only reason this is higher than The Boys in the Boat is because I saw this with another family that we're friends with, and they actually love Indiana Jones. So that theater experience I loved. So it meant I get to be in there for like more than 2.5 hours with them and getting to look at Indiana Jones in the theater. So that theater experience is what puts it above the rest. But other than that, that's basically fair game with Boys in the Boat. But I would say this is by far the worst version of Indiana Jones. I would say they completely destroy his character in this one. He's nowhere near as iconic as even the other 4, because he still has like his attitude, and he still has his like snarky little bit in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It may be the worst indie film, but still, I need to stop stuttering. Stop it, man. But anyway, some of the third act goes off a cliff. The third act just plummets like douche. There's some stuff that's like really funny, like especially like Mads Mikkelsen, like when we see his like face when he realizes what happens and he's like so disappointed. That is hilarious. But there's some stuff here that really bad ideas that they executed really bad, but it is also one that again is very long, more than 2.5 hours long. And even though I did have a fun time in the theater, it should not have been that long. Godzilla. The worst DCEU movie to me is Suicide Squad because it's so boring. I need to see that one right now, but I would say Justice League right now, because even if I see Suicide Squad, most likely I would prefer that one to Justice League, mostly because the fact of what they do to Zack Snyder is what pushes it above, because that is just awful what they do. Like, they deserve to rot in hell for that one. Man. Hosta. I rewatched the Ultimate Action movie yesterday and made a review. You'll love it. My favorite movie of last year was Holdovers / Oppenheimer. The Ultimate Action movie yesterday and made a review. You'll love it. That's odd, because I thought you said yesterday you watched The Terminator, but it's not the Ultimate Action movie because it's not an action film. It's a horror film. Oh, well. Maybe it was John Wick Chapter 4, because that is the Ultimate Action film. Or basically any of the Mission Impossible films, except for 1 and 2. After that, I basically am right. Number 17 is Megan. And this was probably the first film I watched of this year, of the new releases. This or Air. But this one is one it's basically Child's Play 2019, the remake of Child's Play. So it's basically a double remake. because the Child's Play 2019 remake is about Chucky going rogue because he's an AI. This is basically the exact same premise. The only difference is this time the doll is a girl. So a lot of people, I find it funny that that people are not calling this film woke because it's basically just remaking Child's Play 2019. The only difference is this time it's a girl doll, and it's like I cannot believe that some films like some of these other films that are not woke, like Terminator Dark Fate, take the rap for being woke when they're not. People know that. They're just trying to sound like they know some stuff. But a film like Megan, where they are literally remaking something, only this time it is a girl, it's not getting woke. I find that hilarious. But anyway, I find that it's very watered down. It is PG-13. Should it be PG-13? Nope. It should have been rated R. There's an unrated cut. But I did not check that one out. I really should check that one out, and I have no excuse for not checking that one out. So I will suffer for not checking that one out by having to put this one this low. But anyway, I did enjoy this one. I did enjoy this one a lot, and that dance that we see Megan do is so memeable, and it already is probably the film's biggest reputation. Also, like I felt like the girl was extremely unlikable in the film. Like there's like a scene where she like slaps a adult, and I'm not a parent, but even then, that's something that immediately triggers me, especially when they do something like that when a child hits a grown up. So wow, her writing was terrible. I hated her. I downright hated her. Okay, Hosta. The backstory between Justice League is absolutely awful and disgusting, but art over artist. Well, Justice League ain't ain't. I think you're trying to say dark, but the movie is still entertaining. Not really for me. I find it extremely boring, even if you take out the stuff. If you take that out, it's still extremely boring and generic. But okay, sorry about that. Now number 16 is Totally Killer. And this is like basically a remake of Back to the Future just as a slasher film. And I find that this film might be better than Back to the Future, to be honest. I am very vocal about this, but I find Back to the Future extremely overrated. At the moment, I think I may actually no. I think I'll prefer Back to the Future, but it's by a razor thin difference. It's not that actually not by razor thin, but I prefer Back to the Future, but not too much. But even if I do think it's overrated, but I find that there's some really funny jokes in here, but this film is actually wait, it takes place in 1987, but there's no Predator reference in here. Right now, I have to fix the whole list. It's now the worst film of the year. It's now actually below Blood and Honey. Okay, but seriously, I find that the our final girl here is extremely likable. I would actually like a Totally Killer 2, or like Totally Killer. That actually sounds pretty stupid, but still. I think that it would be really funny to get a new one, but they could also do the thing where they're just gonna milk this thing. But I did enjoy this film a lot. Number 15 is the Little Mermaid, the Little Mermaid live action remake, and this is I think my third favorite live action remake of the entire Disney live action remakes. Hold on. Hosta, can I join the call? I can't do that right now. It'll take too long. Plus, that could take it'll just take too long to put that in there. Plus, I don't know how long until StreamYard will cut me out. I don't know how long. I really probably should have looked up how long StreamYard allows you to do this. But anyway, Hosta will just say something when I've watched it. Okay. Anyway, I think that Halle Bailey, who plays Ariel, crushes it in the role. She is fantastic. Her singing is beautiful. Like she is 1 trillion times better than the singer in the 1989 version. Yeah, I think it's 89. Yeah. But anyway, I think that I think it's please be who I think it is who plays her. Uh, where is she? Where is she? Noma. Where is she? The person that plays Ursula. Because she's not actually in the film too much, so she's a lot more low on the casting. Oh wow, she is low. I can't find her. Melissa McCarthy. I knew it was Melissa McCarthy. Yeah, so Melissa McCarthy, who plays Ursula, she's really fun in it. Uh, so I find that she's really fun in it. So I felt like she was having a really good time. So I felt like she was really good in it. But there's some problems in here, like the green screen here is pretty bad at certain points. But I can look over it if they have a good enough story, and they usually do. In certain of these, but it is by far one of the better live action remakes because yikes, are these live action remakes terrible when they want to be? Hasta, fair enough. Yeah, okay. Hasta, you don't mind a race swap? I do not at all. I have no idea why people complain about that. Ugh. At all. I find that it's extremely stupid, but what they do, saying that this film was just bad because of that. Godzilla, I have thumbnails for streams that are 7 hours long. Oh, as in, so you can do streams for this long? I hope so. Because I don't think it'll take this long to get done with the stream, but still, that would be nice. Number 14 is The Equalizer 3. Now, I watched the first two Equalizers in preparation for this one. I watched the original film, and then I did watch two, and then I watched two back to back with three. So I watched two, then immediately after that, watched three on New Year's Eve, actually. So it was one of the last films I watched. And this is my favorite of the Equalizer films. And I felt like this one was it was probably the most violent in the franchise, to be honest. It's one of the most gory films of the year for me that I saw. And I felt like Denzel Washington was very charming. It's on par with the first film. Like all three films are very close together. It's just, I think like to be honest, I didn't even know which one would come in at number one when I was doing right before the film ends. As soon as you get like the ending, it's like the last 5 seconds of the film where you get that amazing like conclusion that just makes it such a great bookend for the trilogy that puts it over one. They're like that. They're like such a razor thin difference. And then the thing with three like nudges it the slightest above with that fantastic ending. So that is the only reason it is above the first film. Other than that, they're all all three are like very close. So, but I would say this is the worst version of the villains in the franchise. This has the least interesting or least memorable in the franchise, like Pedro Pascal in the first. No, not the first. The second film, and whoever in the first film. But I had a lot of fun with this film. It's a really decent one, but it is good. Now at number 13 is something that I am still extremely annoyed that I'm having to defend why I have it in the top flipping 15. But I'm still getting flack for it, and that is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And I will just say this. If you are somebody that I just do not get why you think this is one of the greatest films of all time. I find a lot of people nowadays, like especially on Letterboxd, that are like calling this one of the greatest films of all time. You cannot immediately do that. John Wick Chapter 4 is one that's probably different because that's one is genuinely much better than Across the Spider-Verse, especially on like a filmmaking level, because Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is just an animated film that they do on computers. Especially something like John Wick Chapter 4 where they're doing real stunt work. Like you see a dog that like is like running, and apparently Film Kid brought it to my attention that that's actually real, which I think I knew, but still. And like where they're hitting people with cars, it's much more respectable than it is in some of these other ones that people do not admit. And I find that the animation is so good, it's distracting. Like especially in like where the walls are changing, it is distractingly. It's like so great, it loops around and becomes bad. It's the opposite is so bad it's good. It's so good it's bad. Like the animation is just too distracting for me. Wow. Whew. But I find it's the most overrated film of all time. Godzilla. I think you can stream as long as you can, although I'm not 100% sure about that, but I do know that you can do it for much longer than 2 hours. Okay, good. Hosta. Spider-Verse is the best Marvel movie since Infinity War. Completely wrong. Endgame is 1,000 times better. Not even close. Godzilla, I see. But Endgame is much more satisfying as a film, and also is one that this is like immediately the best. This film is immediately the best. Once best Marvel film since Infinity War. That is a very low bar because Endgame is such a great film. And it's also much more of a satisfying film. People are completely ignoring the fact that Across the Spider-Verse's ending is terrible. Like, people are insulting Fast X. At least Fast X gives you something that we at least know that a character survives, and at least gives us part of it, but it does end out of nowhere. So does Across the Spider-Verse. That ending is so unsatisfying, and nobody will admit it because they know that the ending is unsatisfying. They just don't want to admit it. But that ending, if you are going to tell me that the ending of Fast X is awful, but then Across the Spider-Verse's ending is awesome, that's hypocritical. You can say that you like Across the Spider-Verse more than Fast X, because I do. But the ending is just as bad as Fast X. Just as bad. Okay. Let me bring this one up. Godzilla, I didn't hate Suicide Squad, but it certainly wasn't great either. I haven't heard much. I don't know many people that would argue with that. Number 12 is actually going to be Evil Dead Rise, and another one of the most violent films of the year, and one that they built like in the trailers, like the cheese grater scene was one that was extremely in the trailers that they were marketing this film of, like where one of the Deadites like grabs a cheese grater and like shreds her leg skin off with part of it. And I watched that, and seeing it happen, it is not very gory. Wow. Like that was, in that regard, it was disappointing, but it really goes for it because like you see kids dying. It is, well, not dying, but they turn into deadites, and it is so unrelentless. And I like how this one is much more of a, I like that this one goes for a lot more of something like where in horror films, usually a mother is someone that you immediately have to turn to, and she's like the one that immediately has to protect, and that you're supposed to turn to in this situation. And in this film, it is the complete opposite because the mother is the main deadite. So in this film, you can't trust her, and there's several scenarios where she's tricking them, and it works, especially on like the littlest one where she doesn't really know how to explain what's going to happen, and it's really interesting to see the way that she goes, like she just goes bananas, and the practical effects are pretty good. And there's like a really cool callback to like Ash with like the chainsaw, where a woman has a chainsaw. Wow. I was genuinely wondering if people were going to call that part woke, because nowadays that isn't woke, but nowadays pretty much anything that isn't woke, like Terminator Dark Fate, they will immediately call woke just to be able to be a part of the conversation because they think they'll be cool. And a number 11 is one that is I would say it's very close with Evil Dead Rise, and Evil Dead Rise is probably better, but I would say the first two acts put it above that, and that is Scream 6. And I love the original Scream. I love it. I adore the original Scream. I really enjoy 2, 3, and 4. And I do really enjoy 5 and 6. I enjoy all the sequels, but none of them are even close to the original. None. But I think that this one suffers mostly from the fact that this has the most sloppy writing in the franchise. The most sloppy writing in the franchise, with certain things that if you realize after the killer's motives are realized, and then you rewatch the film, there's several plot holes that come out. Like, I'm not going to spoil it because it is still relatively new, but if you know the identity of the killer, and if you rewatch it, there are several plot holes become apparent that make no sense. And the third act goes off a cliff as well. Like the third act, my dad actually came in during it and he was like, "This film sucks." And I was like, I don't really get that, but I will say the third act is by far the worst of the three. But of the if the third act was just as good as the first two acts, this would easily be my favorite Scream sequel by far. Like the first two acts are fantastic. It's just the fact that now knowing the killer's identity, it is actually pretty apparent that the identity of the killer was pretty obvious. Now we're in the top 10, baby. So be sure to hit that like button, guys, if you are still here. And if you guys want to show support, you guys can send some super chats if you want. You don't have to if you don't want to. Just a suggestion if you guys want to support me. If you can, I don't even know if you can send super chats. And number 10, the one that is the worst of my top 10 films while still being a really dang good film. And that is Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. Chris Pine is very charismatic in this role. He's always charismatic in whatever he's in. So he is the main reason this film is so high. Like he is always so charming, and you get the girl that plays Beverly in It in this one, and to some extent in It Chapter 2. She's not in Chapter 2 very much, but she's in a little bit of it. But she's really charming in this film as well. So is the person from the Fast and the Furious franchise that plays Dom's now wife. What's her name? Letty. And you also get the guy from the last two Jurassic World films. So so there's a pretty good cast. The main core four of the, and now I'm copywriting Scream 6. Oh man. But the main four I know, so I have fun with them. So I think that they have a really good group chemistry dynamic with each other. So they have a lot of really good chemistry with each other, and I find it's a very charming and rewatchable film. So I have a lot of fun with it. So it is at here number 10. It's just one that I would probably take the top 9 above it. Okay. Chronicles of Narnia. Hi. Well, hi there. Okay. Now we're at number 9. It's hilarious that this is number 9, considering this is after one other film, this is my least favorite in the franchise. It's hilarious that it's still number 9, and that is Creed 3. I find that part hilarious, that this is my least, after Rocky 5, this is my least favorite in the Rocky franchise, and it's my number 9 out of 49 films I saw in 2023. Oh man, that's funny. Quick little water break. Whew. Be sure to drink water, kids. Okay, but anyway, I think that this is one of the best performances by Michael B. Jordan, and I think that he's great as a. Did he direct this? Yes, he did direct this, and I would say that really what drags it down is sorry, how to say this. Really, what drags it down is for two reasons. And I will bring this one up as I'm talking to Hassa, because he's asking me a question why I do and not why I prefer Creed 3 over Rocky Balboa. And that is because, Rocky Balboa over Creed 3. And the real reason is, one of them is because they really go into style over substance, especially in like the third act where like he's putting in like some anime stuff, and I hate anime. Hate it. It's extremely annoying, so I'm not a very big fan of it at all. So when they bring that up, I'm not a very big fan of it. And another thing that I'm not a big fan of is that Stallone is not in it. So I didn't find that it had as much of a compelling thing. It felt like he was missing in him, because Creed 1 and 2, he's such a great part of it. And it feels like he was really tacked out of it in this one. He didn't come back because of some drama with some people behind the scenes. So, but still, it was extremely disappointing that he was not going to be in the film. Also, the main fight at the end is extremely over the top, with like where they're like in a big cage as the thing, where that would not happen in wrestling at all. That would not happen. I mean, in boxing, you can try and say, well, this is fiction. That would not happen at all. That is a complete lie. This is easily my least favorite of the Creed films, but this is a dang good film. And still really funny. This is my least favorite in the franchise. No, not least favorite. Second least favorite. Hasta, the first two Creeds are still much better. Much better. It's still awesome. Now, number 8 is a film I just got done watching today, and this is the first of 2 films that I watched today, right before I got this one out, and that is Thanksgiving, the new Eli Roth horror film. And this is basically almost like a Scream type film, and this is one that I can very well see myself rewatching in the future on every Thanksgiving. And because I bought it, and because it was on sale for like less than $10, and it was pretty cool. And not cool, it was pretty entertaining. And there's some flaws here, like the writing is pretty awful at certain times. Some of the characters are such caricatures and are just jerks. And it's also very violent and very gory, which I appreciate for a horror film. So I enjoy that part about it. And there's some CG here and there, but it's also pretty cool. Like there's like one clever scene where like a girl like gets slammed against a freezer door, so her skin's coming off, and then when she gets away and like she's trying to call the police, and like immediately like you have to get in using like your face code thing, and since her face is screwed up because of what happens, like she can't get in. And if you've seen the film, you know what happens to her later. But it's still really cool. And I like some of the commentary they do with what happens on like Black Friday, and that thing where it gets a bit over the top because like people are like just killing each other. Like that is a very like, would that really happen? Or I think we're maybe straining a bit of credibility here, man. Just a bit, but still. But I still really enjoy this film, and it was pretty good. Okay, make sure to hit that like button. Let's see. I'm gonna. Okay, how many likes are we at? Okay, at 1. Very funny, guys. Come on, let's get us to a few more likes than 1. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to. Oh no! Oh no! Asta, Scream 2 is overrated. It's a 5.5 out of 10. You can't say that's overrated, but something like Across the Spider-Verse is a 9 out of 10. Scream 2 is better than Across the Spider-Verse. Is more entertaining to me. And how the heck can you say that? Oh, that means you probably just like Scream 3, of course. Hasta, is your favorite of the year what I think it is? Yep. I know. You know my taste, man. You immediately know what's my number 1. No, not that. Don't even think about that being my number 1 at all. Now, number 7 is Air. Either this or Megan was my first film I watched this year. And this is a film that is about shoes. About shoes. And it's at number 7, which is really funny, but I think that what's his name? Matt Damon, he is easily one of my favorite actors of all time, so he's really awesome in this film. I find that there's some really funny humor in here that really lands well, and there's an argument to be had here that this is the funniest film of the year. It's certainly top 3 of the year, but it's one that can be very good. And I like how they don't make Michael Jordan the standout of this film. They make his mother that. And so I thought that she was very likable. And it's one that's super interesting. And how long is it? So it's I think it's an hour 59. So, so it is a great film. I really enjoyed it. And that is the last 4-star film on here. We are now at the 4.5 out of 5s. Okay, Hasta. Yeah, 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 yeah. Laugh it up. Okay. Hosta. Air is a top 5. For me, I would not argue with that at all. Oh man, it's good. It could be top 5 if I rewatch it, but still, right now it's number 7. But still, uh, a mu W take. I don't really know what that means, but if you want another great movie like this, check out Moneyball. I need to check out Moneyball too. That has Brad Pitt in it, and the only other film I've seen is I think 7. Probably can't be better than 7 because 7's like the best of the best when it just comes to movies. Period. Debatably one of the greatest of all time. Godzilla. Have you seen the Jason Bourne films? I've seen most of the Bourne Identity. I just never finished it. I tried to buy it yesterday. It didn't work, so I may try and get it done later. But I need to get onto those films. But I've seen most of Bourne Identity. I've heard good things about the first 3. Legacy and Jason Bourne, I have not heard very good things about. We'll just say that. Now, number 6 is the film I barely managed to get done with before the live stream. I actually had to reschedule the live stream a little bit later just to get it uh done. It's really funny that I had to reschedule the live stream like 15 minutes ahead of time. I had to reschedule the live stream to be 15 minutes long, to be 15 minutes in the future just to get this film done. But real quick, Godzilla, you should watch the rest of the Jason Bourne films. I'll try and get them done. Okay. Pasta. I still like 7 slightly more than Moneyball. Slightly. I would say that even then, I don't think Moneyball can compare to 7, although they're probably very drastically different films. If you've seen 7, you know how drastically different they probably are because that is a hard R-rated film. Extremely hard to watch. But number 6 is easily my favorite animated film of the year by far, and it's not even close. Yeah, Hosta. I said it, and I'm not afraid to say it. The best animated film of the year by far, and not even close, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. And this film was one of those films that is actually more stunningly animated than Across the Spider-Verse. Yep. Because this one I just find is more it feels like more comic book like than even Across the Spider-Verse, which I know is a hot take, which actually might not be a hot take even. I think most people would actually not most, but a lot of people agree this is visually a fantastic film. And something that I can say is that I really enjoyed that they make the turtles teenagers in this because I was even talking with Film Kid and how there was like a really funny thing where we were talking on not a live stream, it was a behind the scenes thing where in pretty much all the other films how do I say this? They're basically grown-ups that are just supposedly teenagers, and then out of nowhere when I'm saying how in this one supposedly they're actually acting like teenagers, but in the other ones they're basically just grown-ups, he then says cough cough Michael Bay films cough cough. And it's like the funniest thing ever. I loved that part because Film Kid, if you ever watch this part, thank you so much. That was hilarious and very true. But this is my favorite of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles films I've seen, although I've only seen the original one from 1990, I think. Yeah, 1990. But I had a lot of fun with this one, and I would say it's more rewatchable than the original one, which is what puts it over. But I do love this film, so it is a great animated film, and I'm telling you, great. And now we're getting into the trophy hitters, the top 5. And the last film on this list that I actually saw in the theater, it actually was very sad because I only saw maybe 4, maybe 4 movies in the theaters, and only 3 that were actually new releases. It's several I had to fight tooth and nail to get to see in the theater, but still, Godzilla Mutant Mayhem was very enjoyable. Yep, very enjoyable. That's what I would describe it as. And that is number 5 is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This one is so close to being my favorite of the Guardians trilogy, and The only thing that I slightly hold against it, that is the reason why it is not my favorite, is because I felt like this one didn't kill off any of the characters. Where I felt like if they were going to conclude it, they should have at least killed one. And there's like 8 scenes where they could have done it. There's like several times where they have such big plot armor where you have a feeling they're about to die and they just let them live. But it's one that's gut wrenching. It is super sad to watch, and man, and this one really goes in with Rocket and his backstory, and it's extremely sad. And it has one of the best soundtracks of any of the films. It might have the best soundtrack, and it's funny, both this and Super Mario Brothers have Chris Pratt as the main character, and both at one point do the No Sleep Till Brooklyn theme, and this one is far superior. Is far superior to the way they use it in the certain scene, because this actually makes sense. Meanwhile, Super Mario Brothers, they just used it because it was a pop song. Let me just put these two on here. Okay. Hosta, Star-Lord, dollying through space. Yep. They really could have killed him off. Then it would have been really gut wrenching, because it was a sacrifice from him, and they could have like had him live a little bit longer, like in their arms, and then he says goodbye. But nope, he has to live. That alone strained credibility big time. But that's the only like slight nitpick I have. Other than that, it's like top tier MCU, which you would not suggest coming from the guy that borderline hates some of the films in the MCU nowadays. Hosta, have you watched any movies today? Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving, TMNT, Mutant Mayhem, and and I started the Terminator. I'm trying to get it done. I told Film Kid, by the way, Hosta, I told Film Kid to watch the Terminator. He said that he should be able to do that and that he's on it, and I'll try to get it done. I may not be able to do a Saturday. I may reschedule it to Sunday if you're able to, but still. Chronicles of Yarnia. My little brother would disagree with you. Sam thinks that Mario Brothers is the single-handy best movie ever. That is no offense, a terrible take. Especially if we're saying that like the soundtrack is downright atrocious in that thing. Like they have some of the most lazy pop songs I have ever heard. And especially it's one of the most predictable things ever. Although I'm not going to be too mad, because I know this guy has not seen very many films. He couldn't have. If that's his favorite film of all time, he has not seen very few films. Especially something like John Wick Chapter 4 and just some of the other ones on here like Mutant Mayhem are 1,000 times better than that. Even if the animation is stunning in Mario Brothers. Godzilla and Pudging Up as well. Yeah. There was some stuff that really strained credibility at times. Number 4 is Oppenheimer. And how do I say it? Yeah, Oppenheimer. And I loved this film. This is easily one of my favorite Christopher Nolan films. Again, have Inception and Interstellar to watch, so don't get your heads in a bun, because this is not top 3 Christopher Nolan. I won't go that far. Not that far. I would take The Prestige and The Dark Knight above this, and Batman Begins above Oppenheimer. Yeah, I loved Oppenheimer. It's one where the score is probably the best score of the year. Yeah, that is probably my favorite score of the year. That is a fantastic score. Cillian Murphy, hand him the Oscar right there, guys. Let's not waste any more time. Hand him the Oscar. That is a fantastic performance. Such a great performance by him. It is amazing, and I do love some of the stuff in this film. It's one that's extremely long, so it's wow. I think I'm dying on camera. Anyway, I do love Oppenheimer. It's just one that it's harder to watch than some of the other ones on here, especially since it's extremely dark. And man, were those sex scenes unnecessary. But anyway, okay, I'm trying to Uh, Hosta, I planned watching Terminator Salvation today, but I wanted the fantastic Terminator masterpiece I watched yesterday to sink in more. Oh, so you watched T2? I should have guessed. Then we should probably. Then that would also be a fun one to do a review for. I continue more with T2. I need to finish it though. But man, is T2 a masterpiece? Probably my favorite film of all time. I mean, it should be. You see it right there. That's Arnold right there. That I'm speaking through. But man, Salvation is good. I watched it less than a week ago, and I nearly bought it. I may actually try. I may actually buy it today. I don't know, but still. Chronicles of Yarny. He's the youngest. He's 5. Yeah, of course he would see John Wick Chapter 4 because that is a very violent film. Okay. Godzilla. What is your favorite Christopher Nolan film? The Dark Knight. Easily. I love The Prestige. I love Oppenheimer. I love Batman Begins. I have a lot of enjoyment with The Dark Knight Rises and Insomnia. And Following and Tenet I can take or leave, but The Dark Knight easily is one of my favorites. Okay. Hosta, it's not T2 is the second one, and Salvation is the fourth one. When you can't be talking about 3 because 3 is not a masterpiece at all. 3 is a film that is borderline unwatchable and is one of the worst sequels of all time. So I cannot think of any action film that you're talking about because if you're going to say that 3 is a masterpiece, that means you're lying. No one on earth will say that that film is a masterpiece because it isn't. It is one of the worst sequels of all time. Man, is it bad. So terrible. Okay. Hosta, 5-year-old me would have loved Super Mario Brothers as well. I can expect that. Hosta, just watch my review. Dude, I swear, if this is about Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, if it is... Okay, I need to go check real quick. I'm going to start talking about my number 3 while I'm taking a look because it better not be Terminator 3 because it is not a masterpiece. Hosta, I swear. Please, no. What the? Yeah, this is Terminator 2, so I have no idea what you're talking about because this is Terminator 2 what you're doing. Okay, and number 3 is now one of my favorite Christmas films, but if you're going to tell me this is top 3, I have to strongly disagree with you there. It has to be at least a little older before you can say this is like one of the greatest Christmas films of all time, like top 3 Christmas of all time. You need to let it sink in a little longer, but my number 3 is The Holdovers. One that was a genuine shock because this is one that came out of absolutely nowhere and it just immediately dominated everyone's like top uh it just immediately dominated the entire 2023 list of like best of all time. It is one that Paul Giamatti is so likable in this. He always usually chooses good films and he's always pretty fun. And I think that the kid is a bit unlikable at certain points, but at some points it does make sense. And I like how they have it. It seems a bit more old based on the way that they use their cameras. It's basically a better version of Christmas Story in that regards. Only A Christmas Story was made in the 80s. Yeah. So that one actually, there's a reason why it's old, but even for then, it looks older than it is. You would have expected that film to be made in like the 60s, only it's in color. But I love The Holdovers. It has a lot of genuine heart. There's some pretty funny humor in here on the very few times that you get humor because a lot of people call this a comedy. This is a drama, not a comedy at all. Maybe one scene involving the kid breaking his arm that you could count funny, but unless you count Paul Giamatti with his face features, with the way that he makes his face features look, because it's something that he just naturally can do. That's usually funny. That's funny. This is not even intentional. Unless you count that, it's a very serious film, but it is a drama and it is fantastic. This also is one that's winning a lot of Oscars. Not winning, but it's getting nominated for it. And there's a lot of great Oscar nominations in here that should get nominated for. And okay. Hosta. I'm just kidding. It was Terminator 2. Such a masterpiece. As Bane says in The Dark Knight Rises, of course. That was a terrible impression of Bane. Hold on. Of course. Okay, no, I just can't do it. I cannot pull off a British accent at all. I have a friend that she can really pull off a British accent, but I fall on my face every time I try, which is probably something that I should count as figures because I almost never do an accent. So I probably shouldn't be able to be very good at it. But anyway, Hosta, loved seeing your reaction. Yeah. We have fun. Holdovers, top 3, amazing, great. Completely agree. I think it's your favorite movie of 2023 and your favorite movie of the decade. Not going to argue there. That is a fantastic film. Easily it's now in my top 100 of all time. And at number 2 is Mission Impossible, as of now, Dead Reckoning. It used to be called Dead Reckoning Part 1, but that just got screwed up. It's now going to be really funny because if you take a look on the opening of it, they, like when you get the title thing, it'll say Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, and then there will be a thing that says Part 1. And then people like in the future, like 2080 that watch this are going to be like, what the heck? Why does it say Part 1? And then they're going to watch and they'll see, and then they'll watch the Part 2 or whatever it's going to be called and be like, why is that not called Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2? Apparently, all the titles have to be different. Really weird. That is not going to age well. But this film is fantastic. Like, the action in here is off the charts fantastic. It did slightly bomb because the budget was big, so... And basically, every film bombed this year. Let's just be honest. Most films did. It seemed like a lot of the good films bombed hard. But some for good reason, others for not good reason. And some of the marketing was off with them. But Tom Cruise, after seeing 7 Mission Impossible films, especially like I binged them in an airport when I was going to Texas and back to back with several of them, I'm now certain Tom Cruise is just trying to kill himself because this guy is flipping insane. He drives a motorcycle off of a cliff. It's awesome. And Haley Atwell, she is one of the most charming people in this franchise. She is really charismatic in this role. I really hope that they do her service in the second film. And something that happens to what is her name? I might as well just look right now. I'm taking a look. What is it? Rebecca Ferguson's character that people are not liking at all. To me, I'm not going to judge it yet. I'm waiting until we get part 2. And as soon as we get part 2, I will finish and make up my mind because part 2 could do one of 2 things. It could solidify that they actually do what they do with her character in the first film. And people could really be angry about that. Or they could retcon it in the second film and say that she faked what she did. And either way, I'm in a different camp. Whichever thing happens. If they retcon it, then it makes what they did in part 1 useless. So when I see part 2, I will see what they do. But I have a feeling they may retcon it. I am so positive they're probably going to do that. But anyway, great action film. And fantastic film. It's just there's some CGI that goes down in the third act. That's why I prefer it my number 1. But either way, wow. And this is the only this is the only part 1 of 4 part 1s actually, where we have maybe Rebel Moon part 1 slightly gives us a bit more of a conclusion than Across the Spider-Verse and Fast X, but still, yeah, Rebel Moon Part 1 was by far the worst of the Part 1s. And this one actually comes to a close where they actually managed to give us a conclusion to the storyline where we still know there's more to it, but it doesn't end on a complete cliffhanger. They settle the story of this film. something that Across the Spider-Verse and Fast X both negated and just said, well, thanks for your money. See you next time. And then we're like, yeah, no, you won't. See ya. And so I loved Dead Reckoning. Oh, I'll just call it Dead Reckoning because apparently that's apparently what it's being called. Man, that is not going to age well. Hostel, my favorite movies of the decade are Top Gun Maverick, Oppenheimer, and Holdovers. All tied. Completely agree. Those are all in my. Well, I mean, those ones are easily in my. All three of those are my top 100. So are basically Dead Reckoning and the one we're about to get to, as well as Guardians 3. Okay. Pasta. Mission Impossible is awesome, but it's not the best action movie of the year. ... Yes, attaboy. Okay. Oh, look who we got in the chat. Yes, now I'm really happy. Because if Hosta wasn't enough to get me hamped up, we got Film Kid here. And he says that I am here. Good to see you, man. I thought that you had a premiere thing to get to, but I'm not complaining. Glad to have you here. Sadly, you missed the entire stream except for what my number one is, which I know you're going to be happy because I did you justice. Because my number one is your number one. It is a lot of people's number. It's in their top 10. We'll just say that. Because my number one of the year, the one that gets the gold medal, my favorite, and that film is John Wick Chapter 4. And what can I say about this film that has not already been said? Best of the series. Easily. This is one where they do strain some credibility again, where it's not nearly as bad as what they do with his character in 3, where he is just completely surviving anything with no, how do I say this? No, I'm trying to think of the word. No, he's just a superhero. He's getting demolished and he's not taking too much damage. But yes, Godzilla, John Wick Chapter 4. You really do know my channel well, or that's your favorite of the year. But either way, I'm so happy. But I love this film. I wish I saw it in theaters. So angry I didn't see it in theaters. But at the time that this was coming out in theaters, I'd only seen the first film. But I think that this one is an action masterpiece. This is the most well lit and the most stunning of the John Wick films. It's the one that has the best cinematography in the entire franchise. It is beautifully lit. The action is awesome. Probably the least violent of the John Wick films, but it's still awesome. And I love this film so much. I'm thinking about it right now. I'm probably gonna rewatch it after I get done with this live stream. Yeah, I think I'm gonna rewatch it after I do this. After I get done with this live stream, I think I'm gonna rewatch it. But oh, come on. I watched it with a friend in theaters, super fan. Dang it! Why did I not see it in theaters? I'm gonna kick myself for that. By far the best John Wick film. John Wick movie. Yeah. Awesome. And yeah, just like John Wick says, yeah. Chronicles of Narnia. Try making your lives later. There is school. Yeah, sorry. Godzilla. It's not my favorite movie. It's not my favorite of the year, but it is really entertaining. Okay, I have to go in a little because the premiere is pretty far away, and I'm not sure how traffic is going to be like. Chronicles of Narnia, because not everyone's homeschooled like somebody. Sorry. Oh, sorry, not that question is not for me. Sorry. Okay, but anyway, I adore John Wick Chapter 4. The third act is fantastic. It's the best third act of the. Oh, man, I can't say that actually. Because the third act of all the John Wick films are like all so good, except for the first one. The first film, the third act is the weakest of the three, but like 3 and 4 are like neck and neck for the best third act because 3 has its problems with certain regards, but it's still an awesome film. but the third act of 3 is awesome. I think that third act, like where they're like that has the one of the highest death counts in the franchise. It might be that. Actually, chapter 4 might actually surpass it. Where in this franchise they are just going up in everything. Like global box office, domestic box office, Rotten Tomatoes, cinematography, death counts, like everything fan wise, they just keep going up. Like Rotten Tomatoes, the worst film in their franchise is the original film with an 86%. That never happens. Never. Man, but this film is awesome and I love it. Watch it. Because homeschooling is awesome. Don't let Chronicles of Narnia tell you otherwise. I'm not sure, to be honest. Trust me, there's some really great films of the year. What the? Film Kid. That was the whole reason why I kind of had to join late, is because I just got off of school. Oh. Oh, no, I didn't. I'm just saying that it's probably not as bad as you make it out to be. I'm just saying. Doesn't mean I get excited for it. Now I'm being accused. But anyway, guys, everyone, that is my ranking of the 2023 movies I saw, where I saw 49. Make sure, guys, to go follow me on Letterboxd if you want the full list. Meanwhile, Film Kid, since he did not catch the entire thing, he is able to see the entire list because he is followed to me on Letterboxd, meaning so he can see every film. And yes, Film Kid, my least favorite is Blood and Honey. So again, make sure to thank your parents for making sure you can't see that film. But man, and thank you all so much for joining in on this one. If you have any last questions, I will do this thing for a little longer. But I've been doing this thing for over 2 hours, so I'm going to do it for a little longer, and then I'm going to shut down. Whew. Oh, boy. Okay. Godzilla, great ranking. Thank you. I cannot say I have very few hot takes. The only one that would like put me into a death sentence with most people, yes, it is a homeschool dance, but it's still not something I get really excited for. It's just one that I'm saying is not as bad as you make it out to be. But it's the only one that's like with the fans, a death sentence is really Across the Spider-Verse. And even then, that one's just purely overrated. People are just wrong about that one. They're just not listening to the facts. Film Kid, I am so excited. There's this dance going on, and I'm going to be out of town when it's going on. The only bad part is I'm probably going to miss so many social things. Sorry, buddy, about that part. But Film Kid, before I'm just gonna say this part live. Make sure to get the Terminator done. I'm rewatching it right now, and dang, is that film better than I remember it being. It's still in my top 15 of all time. But make sure to rewatch that so we can do the review with Hosta. It may not be Saturday. I'm gonna see if I can, but I may try and make some room for it on Saturday if I can. But I would love to do a review with you guys, and also, guys, stay tuned because on Friday, my Film Kid and I are doing a watch along for Twins, the film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. The hilarious comedy. Well, it better be hilarious because I'm investing my time into it, and so is Film Kid. So hopefully it'll be good. Ow. But anyway, so if you guys have any more questions, we'll stay in a bit longer. But let's see how many likes we have. Please do not be what I think it's going to be. Okay. It's going to be what I think it is. Yep. It's going to be. Hold on. Okay, good. 3. Thank you guys for at least giving me a few. But Godzilla, have you seen the extended version of T2? Oh, why did I bring it up? Oh, okay. Have you seen the extended version of T2 Judgment Day? I have. I've seen both cuts, the extended version and the just theatrical version. I own the extended cut on digital, but since I have iTunes extras on there, it means that I have access to the theatrical cut as well. I just need to choose which one I want to watch. I'm watching the extended cut right now because it's just longer, so I just want to watch a longer version of the film I just adore so much. Although there's one thing I'm not a fan of that they do in the extended cut, and that is they change something where in the original film, so in the original version of T2, he just immediately changes because of the fate of John just slowly managing to turn him more human through the course of the film. But in what is it? But in I'm trying to think, what is this? In the extended cut, they take out something that keeps him from just staying someone that's a machine, so he is able to learn because of that, because they take out a doohickey, which I do not like because it just takes away the character arc that he is given. But I do love the extended cut because it's longer, so it's basically just the same thing. Chronicles of Yarnia. It is so dumb. You have so many subs, and yet nobody actually shows up for the streams. Yet, well, I mean, take a look at my statistics, and a lot of them are kids, so a lot of them are in school. So, plus, if you took a look at my live streams that I did with like one with my brother and one of my birthday ones, that one was really hard to get all of them done. Film Kid can tell you we had a lot of comments in there. So, especially with the one with my brother, that one was really hard to get all of them done because I was like having to speed through several times. Okay, we'll go to 2:15. So, you guys have 4 minutes left if you have any more questions, and then we end it. But anyway, this was fun, and hopefully I will not need to do the live stream for 2024 if I can actually get it out. The only problem was I had surgery this year, so it got a bit harder to get that. It got a bit harder to get it out, especially the editing is terrible with this, with these types of, with these like big rankings. Film Kid, how long have you been doing this live stream for? When I am going to end it, it will be at 2 hours and 15 minutes. I've been live streaming for now about to be 2 hours and 12 minutes. So I've been doing it for a long time. We'll just say that. Oh, man. Oh, boy. But it was at least worth it. I hope. But this is definitely really fun. This was definitely really fun. So make sure everyone, if you're in here, even if you're watching this on replay, to hit that like button. But share your rankings in the comments section. What were your picks for the best films of 2023, the worst films of 2023, the biggest disappointments of 2023, and the most surprising films of 2023? Or if you want to just go the extra mile, put all the films that you saw in the year of 2023 ranked. So, and I will most likely, if I'm not blowing up at that point, I will, and I will take a look at it. I'll just speed round through this question real quick, then I'll get to Film Kids Beat that because that'll take a bit longer. Chronicles of Yarnia. When did you have a surgery? Right at the beginning of January, I believe. Yeah. So yeah, right at the beginning of January, I had my wisdom teeth taken out, so I was bleeding all in my mouth. Well, at least on the bright side, I had a bit of a Danny Glover day because I bribed my dad had to bribe me, so I watched Predator 2 and the Lethal Weapon films. Well, Lethal Weapon 1 and 2, and we bought the franchise, so we watched 3 and 4 later. But Film Kid, you want to know about the ending, the 3 hours of editing pain that I had to go through to get you guys. Don't get in 1 hour and 45-minute video takes forever to edit, and it doesn't even get 100. I'm sorry, I can try and share that thing, but seriously, I really, really cannot do anything about that besides sharing yours because I've been getting a lot more of a following lately with 541 subscribers, which is dang good in my book. Godzilla, what are bad films that were improved by their director cuts? Zack Snyder's Justice League. All I have to say. Just all I have to say. Other than that, there's not very many director's cuts I know of that are actually different too much from the regular cuts. They're usually they're usually very different. I mean, they're usually basically the same films with like maybe one or two extra scenes that people don't notice. But Zack Snyder's Justice League is like the only one where they are completely different films, and and that's a good thing in my book. uh, uh, Chronicles of Yarnia. Oh, I thought it was something serious. I'm just saying it was serious. Believe me, it was serious. Film Kid, hit that like button. He said like, but he's saying like. Yes, I agree. And stay tuned because Friday, me and Ledger will both be watching Twins. He's probably more like Arnold, and I'm more like DeVito, but I'm fine with that. If you're trying to say that I'm taller than you, then I am next to positive because I'm 6'2", so that's going to be really hard for you to be taller than me. So most likely I'm going to be more like Arnold, but oh man, you just at least brightened my day with that part. But yes, on Friday we do a watch along with Twins. It may be delayed a little bit, like to like 5 o'clock, 5:15. But I will still be able to watch. I will still watch Twins and more Arnold for me. So I will love that because look at my thing right there. Arnold is right there. So that is awesome. So another Arnold film. I need to finish Kindergarten Cop, and I need to I'm gonna finish up the Terminator, and probably rewatch Predator. And I just bought The Running Man today because it was on sale. And Film Kid, I would say that also Film Kid, The Running Man is on sale for $4.99. So if you want something to buy The Running Man. Wow, man, it's because it's $4.99 and it's a film that has Arnold at where he's like just cracking one-liners every few seconds. It's awesome. And he says, I'll be back in it. Is there any film now that he does not say I'll be back? He references that film so many times. Film Kid, I am 5'3". You're taller than my dad. I'm not surprised. I'm taller than most people's dads. Yeah, man, it's so funny. It's because I have a lot of tall people in my family. Apparently, I may have a relative that was like 7 feet. It's really funny. Godzilla, I'm 6'5". Dang it, I'm not the tallest one here. I'm not special anymore. But at least I'm still 6'2", so technically I am special. Hasta, you said the Dark Knight was dark, but nothing in the Dark Knight is darker than the man licking Sarah Connor in the face and the playground scene. Yeah, probably. I mean, that wasn't really that dark. It was maybe something that it could be implied with some stuff, but still. Chronicles of Yarnia. No way you were 6'2". Mm-hmm. And Chronicles of Yarnia. I'll give you 6 foot, but no way 6'2". You measure me yourself. You will find I'm 6'2". You believe me? You haven't seen me in a while. Trust me. Asta. Yeah. Are you actually 6'2"? I'm not lying. I am not. But anyway, that is it. And that is my ranking of the 2023 movies. And thank you all so much for joining in. Please hit that like button because I entertained you guys, well, hopefully, for more than 2 hours and 15 minutes. So this was really fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed this thing. And make sure to hit that like button again and tune in for the Twins watch along. And Hosta says, see you. And Godzilla also says, see you later. Okay. Hosta, and I'll be back. Yes, you will. Chronicles of Yarnia. I saw you on Christmas. Yeah, but I got taller then. And you're only 15. Yep. But I will see everyone later. And thank you all so much for watching. And have a good one. Yeah, see you. Okay. Okay, now have a good one.